That's the one thing you don't get to experience until you quit drinking.
Was like achieve more, accomplish more, do more, make it look more perfect.
It's like, who do I really want to be? And you got to go, if I want to be present, I need this. I can't have that.
I've missed a lot. I know that, but I haven't missed everything.
That's a delight. Like it's
Mhm.
just this little moment that just makes you, oh, that's lovely.
Welcome to Through the Glass Recovery podcast, where we believe that connection is the opposite of addiction, vulnerability is the antidote to shame, and personal growth is the key to loving your sober life. We're your hosts, Julie Miller and Steve Knapp. Join us in conversations with people all over the globe about how you can thrive, not just survive, in a life without alcohol.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us today. So, this is officially the beginning of season 4 of Through the Glass Recovery podcast, which is just wild to me. I don't know that I thought when we started this whole podcast thing that we were still going to be going at season 4. So amazing to be here. Super happy to be here with some really good friends of ours. And yeah, we're just going to do intros the way we do intros, and then we'll dive into the conversation. If you are one of our regular listeners and you are tuning back in for this season, we are doing this video now. So I'm a little squirrely right now because I'm not used to doing video podcasts. Make sure you check us out on YouTube too, so you can follow along with the video and make it a little more personal. So we are going to start, as always, with introductions. And if you are a regular listener, you already know all of these folks, but we're going to do intros for anyone new that's joining us for the first time. So I'm going to start with Amber.
She's on the spot.
I love being on the spot. Hello. Hello. Yes, my name is Amber. And I live in beautiful Colorado now, Clifton in Grand Junction. Moved out here almost a year ago, and I'm loving it so far. So many new opportunities here for me. And this year I'll celebrate 4 years of sobriety. So yeah, it's very
Amazing.
exciting. I'm so happy to be here. This is so exciting.
Really, really glad to have you back. Thanks for doing this.
Okay.
All right, next up, we will go with Robbie.
Hello. Thanks for having me once again. I'm Robbie, live in Rapid City, South Dakota. I'm at 989 days. So 11 days.
989. 11 more to
So
go,
close.
dude.
So close to
close.
the
11
comma.
more.
Yeah. This November will be 3 years of sobriety for me, and I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. Super glad you're here. And last but certainly not least is Matt.
Hi, I am Matt. I am from Burnt Hills, New York, 40 years old. Last week, I celebrated 2.5 years sobriety, and today is actually 920 days.
Amazing.
Awesome. He's coming up to
Yep.
the comma, too.
Yes.
We're getting there.
It's been so much fun to watch you guys, especially Matt and Robbie have been around since the beginning of this podcast, and Amber not too far after. So we've kind of gotten to do a lot of this stuff with them over the years. It's just been great. So yeah, really happy you guys are here. So, for our topic, which I did not prepare the way I usually do, we hear people talk a lot about like building a life that you don't want to escape from. Or, I mean, our mantra here is create a life so full there's no space left for alcohol. And so we talk about building this whole life that doesn't make you want to drink. But we don't talk a lot about how to do that. And you see these references all over social media. You know, there's these great memes and there's great hard-hitting quotes, and you're like, yeah, that. And then you're like, but what, like, how do you do that? So that's what we're going to talk about today, is what that actually looks like in your life, what you've learned about that. Let's put some actual tools and action items and pictures together for people who are listening so they can understand what that's looked like for us and maybe get some ideas as far as what that can look like for them. So the official question that we're going to kick this off with is, what have you added or changed in your life that makes it something you truly want to be present for? Anybody can start, and then we just dive into it.
All right, I'm going. I'll break the ice.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
I like this question. I think from day one of sobriety to now where I'm at, 989 days, is totally different than when I started. Sobriety was the first thing, staying sober was the first 3 months of my journey, then connection. And still to this day, number one thing for me is connection. I couldn't do any of this, all this, without connection. This group here has helped me through some of the toughest times of my life and will continue to be there. And I've been thinking a lot about this. Connection gives me motivation, the accountability to be there for others, the accountability for myself to know that, hey, if I need to tell myself, I can tell myself to a close group of friends, and they'll steer me in the right direction. In the beginning, there was no connection. I had no one to talk to, and no way to work things out. It was all on my own. Then once I found connection, I've really held on tight to connection. So I'd say the number one thing for me is definitely connection, and find those like-minded people that can help you through this and steer you straight on this journey.
Yeah, you have to surround yourself with people that are going the same direction that you are, right? I think that's one of the most important lessons that I learned and one of the hardest lessons that I learned. And for me, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be sober. That's just, I know plenty of great people who still have a beer on the weekends. That's fine. But they're still going the same direction that I am. And that's what's important. I will say when it comes to creating this life that I don't want to escape from, doing things, fun things, bringing in adventures and experiences and stuff like that is a really important piece of it. And so I'm going to Steve and Amber and I just went to a Shinedown concert a couple days ago. Amazing, amazing experience. It was so much fun to go sober and to fully immerse ourselves in the emotion and the energy of 12,000 people at a Shinedown concert. And that, with everything in me, I just kept thinking, I'm so glad that I'm not drinking through this. I'm so glad that I'm not ruining this with a buzz where I wouldn't be completely coherent and remember every minute of it. And then I was thinking, that's one of the things that I had to figure out early on was what really makes me feel that way. And then there's certain things that still, if I go, I'm like, this really just isn't fun. The first thing that comes to mind for me is we have a 4th of July celebration in our town. And since we've lived in this town for 12 years, I've looked forward to 4th of July every year without fail. It's one of the highlights of the year. And then I got sober and I'm like, this is kind of sucks. I don't actually really enjoy this very much. And reality is I loved it before because I started drinking at 10 a.m. and we have a 3-day festival for 4th of July. So it's 3 days of what normal people just do for one day. And once I did it, and I've been doing it sober now for 4 years, but it's just not that much fun to me. And I think we have to be really honest with ourselves because there's people out there who are like, I'm going to go do this cool thing that I'm so excited to do. And they get there and they're like, this kind of sucks. And, if you're early in sobriety, you're like, man, I wish I could drink. I'm jealous of everybody else that can drink. That's what makes it fun. And I think it's okay to recognize there's things that used to be fun, maybe probably because you were drinking, and they're just not that great anymore. You're allowed to not do those things, or you're allowed to go and be like, okay, I'm going to go do this thing, but it's just not going to be what it used to be. But there will be other things for me, like this concert that just light your soul on fire. And I think it's finding those things that are a blast that is really important.
And I think we need to be open to the fact that that's going to change through the lifetime of your sobriety. Early on in my sobriety, going to a concert would have been something that I would have said no to. Absolutely. Because I don't want to expose myself to being surrounded by alcohol because it's uncomfortable. Or am I going to be around people that are safe that I can deal with this if I do have an issue? I walked around with a lot of fear at the beginning as opposed to what I do now. And so I could do those things. Everything's much different now at 4.5 years as opposed to what it was at 7 months or 12 months or even 16 months. It changed. But I think being open to, you go to a concert when you're 4 months sober and you're like, this is just way too stressful.
Mhm.
Okay, this isn't something I'm going to do for the next little bit. I'm going to give this a try maybe later on when I feel a little bit more comfortable in my own skin. And I mean, I was at that concert and I'm standing there dancing and I am self-conscious as hell because I'm like, how ridiculous do I look? Is my butt touching this old lady next to me? Like, I'm not even
I
joking.
don't think she would have minded, Steve.
I know she wouldn't have minded, but I mean, I cared. You're at a concert and you're with everyone's like personal space, and I'm like, you're this. It's like you're on a plane, right? You're like humming, dance along, whatever. And there's, I mean, I don't mind interrupting your personal space. We've figured that one out. But like the lady next to me, I'm like, I'm just awkward. This is the awkward line. But I mean, and I was literally, there was points where I'm like, do I look ridiculous right now? And then I'm like, wait, no one gives a shit.
No one
Right.
cares.
And no one did.
cares.
No one did. Not a single person at all was like, dude, you were dancing like you had something up your butt. No one said that. It didn't happen. None of the stories that were in my head were true. Anyways,
I'm going to jump
Julie,
on
yeah, go for it.
talk about concerts here, right? So last year, I actually went back and was listening to this today. Episode 120, is Sobriety worth it? It talked about how the Who signed and there might be a concert this summer. So next weekend, my son and I are going down to Atlantic City to see them.
So good.
Amazing. Oh, that's so cool.
Good.
Yeah. So
You're gonna have a
it's pretty
blast.
cool. Like it's one of these things of what you want to be present for, right? Like I spoke about it a little bit there, that episode, but this as well. Like those are those things that like I didn't think ever would come true. Like when I told him, I mean, to see how excited he was just like unbelievable. We got like shirts to wear. I mean, it's gonna be an event. Like it's crazy. Like the things that we're able to do right now in our lives. That, like I said, for me, there were definitely points that I just wasn't sure it was going to happen again.
Mhm.
I want to hit on
Yeah.
something.
Oh, that's
too.
amazing.
I want to hit on something too, because there were some things that I had a hard time doing when I was sober. Something I enjoyed while I was high or drunk. Then when I was sober, tried to keep doing those things, and I didn't enjoy them as much. But I kept trying them and trying them. Then I finally enjoyed them again with intention.
Mm.
And that took a long time to get to that point, and I had to remember my intention every time. And I had to have people remind me, are you doing it with intention? Or are you just going out there to space out? Are you going out there to numb the pain like you did with your addiction? And that was another changer too. So I want people to know that there might be some things that you don't like to do right now with sober, but try them again. Give them some time.
Mhm.
Put some effort into it. Don't shy away from trying it again.
It took me like 3.5 years to go fishing by myself.
Uh,
That was the last summer where I went out and I went fishing all on my own. It's not that I was afraid of drinking. It was just something that it had its own past. And that was time for me to start rewriting it.
mhm.
The first fish that I caught, I was so excited. It was like the first fish that I caught when I was, I don't know, 4 years old. Like I couldn't believe it. Like I was jumping up and down. The level of like elation I had for catching a Colorado rainbow trout, and it wasn't big. Like it was enough. It was a decent size to bring home and eat. But man, I was so proud of that thing. I've never been so proud of the small fish in my life. Like, and that's the thing I wouldn't have otherwise.
And
I wouldn't
that excitement is how you know that is something that still belongs in your life.
Mhm.
That is something that makes your life feel full, right? It's that feeling.
It's a prime example of going out and doing something, and the natural reaction, the natural response of my body was just excitement, right? And the natural response of our body going out and doing something, and this will happen too, that going out and doing something and the natural response of my body is F that, I'm out of here. Right? Now, I don't want to be present for this one.
Right.
right? And then having the courage to listen to it.
Yeah.
And, you know, the awkward moments and everything else that come along with it. Julie, you brought up something that was super important that I'm going to shut up and give this to Amber because she hasn't talked yet, was adventure. What did I put into my life that makes me want to be truly present for? I had my kids here this over the summer, and we took them on adventures, but I got to be present for both the kids and the adventures and the things. Like, Robbie, you mentioned communication, and I think that's part of being present for things and allowing yourself to enjoy and share the moments. And like when one person smiles, you get their smile reflection back.
Mhm.
When you're sad, someone goes, "Hey, what's up?" And it's a lot of the small things that pay off so much.
Absolutely. What you got, Amber?
I'm waiting.
Yeah, no, I know. I was like, how long can I drag this out? So yeah, no, the small things, like that very last thing you said, you know, the small things. You know, I remember going to concerts and stuff, you know, before I got sober, and it's like, it it wasn't even like the concert was the event. I mean, we talk about that all the time, right? Like the drinking was the event, and like getting together and like just seeing how absolutely obnoxious we could get, you know. And this concert was like the first concert I've been to sober, other than going to like a venue, like a restaurant, you know, or like a bar, or a small restaurant, a small venue. And I remember just like, like there were moments I wasn't even singing. I was just listening and just taking in like just the magnitude of the performers and them being on stage and how amazing they must feel to like perform these really beautiful songs, you know, and touch so many lives. And like there was just all this like goodness I was thinking inside. And then, you know, looking over and like seeing Cora, you know, who's a teenager and she's, you know, she's feeling some feels on some songs, right? Because she's like at that age. And then I look over and Julie's watching her daughter feel the feels. And like that small moment was like a moment where I was like, wow, like I am present for one of my best friends getting to experience her daughter, you know, coming into adulthood and feeling those feelings and like knowing what that feels like. And just like it was just a really special small moment I absolutely would have missed, you know, before drinking, because I wouldn't have been paying attention to anything. And so, yeah, to have that connection, to be present, you know, in people's lives, it's like you're walking alongside others, you're living your life, you're doing your thing, and you're witnessing others, you're watching others as they grow and as they learn and as they experience the world. And it's really special to be present for that now and notice the small little moments that are actually pretty big, right? There's significance there. Even can't see it, but yeah. So
Those small things are huge for me. Like of course, you know, there's these big moments that are going to be epic moments in my sobriety forever, but little things like making a great cup of tea, that is so small and so tiny, but that will shift my mood in an instant. Right? And Amber is like, she knows what's up, like way more than I do when it comes to tea. But little things like that, going outside, going for a walk, and just focusing on, you know, what's going on around me, watching the squirrels run, or, you know, notice the changing leaves in the trees, teeny tiny little things like that, where I'm focusing on the details and I'm staying super mindful and present and grateful for whatever little tiny thing it is, those can completely shift whatever my mood is doing and can really lift me up and carry me forward, especially if things are getting wobbly during the day. And I swear, like any of us could probably find 5 tiny little things like that to bring into our days every day that would make life better. You know, just stop and express gratitude for something simple like that. And that stuff goes just as far as going to a big concert or going on a big adventure. It's, you know, it takes a lot of different parts and pieces to make a full life, I think.
Yeah, I wanted to, you're talking about that, and all I keep thinking is the science of happiness. Um,
Yep.
and the part where she talks about, it isn't always these big flashy moments in life or these big, huge positive wins, like, yeah, right? Like, when she talks about delights, that's like
Yes.
these little moments, like you said, like you see squirrels playing and you're like, that's a delight. Like it's just this little moment that just makes you, oh, that's lovely, Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
So I'll jump in here again. So when I was thinking about this today, I've been pretty fortunate through my recovery the last 3 years to have a lot of things like documented. Before I started the podcast, when I was in sober living, I had received a scholarship to pay for that, and they did a little video like of my story. And one of the things, like questions about that when I was doing it was about my kids. And this is what I said about that. I said, I've missed a lot. I know that, but I haven't missed everything. I can't put into the words, the thoughts, the feelings, the ideas that go through my head of all the good stuff I've been able to be there for until now. After that, right, I relapsed again. So I've still missed a lot of stuff again, once more. But now, like that's my life right there to a T.
Mm.
Being a dad, like I said, like we're going to the Who, but I got to bring my kids to Disney World over the summer, over the winter. My daughter and I went to Beauty and the Beast play at a theater down here. Took her to Kids Bop last 2 weekends ago. Right, and just got to sit there and like you guys are talking about, like Julie watching her daughter, it was the same thing. Just you sit there and just kind of like you get that moment of seeing like true joy in your child. And so many times I sit there and other things I just miss it, right? But I've had these a few events that have like been able to just be me and one kid and truly like see them, I don't know, just alive, right? That I just didn't have like any idea of before. Like it just you just took it all for granted and just it didn't mean anything. And that sounds horrible saying it, but that's where 3 years ago I was in my life, unfortunately.
It has a different kind of meaning now. It
Yeah.
feels like back then it didn't have any meaning. And I know what you mean when you say that, because I feel like all of the stuff pre sobriety didn't have any, nowhere near to the type of meaning it has now. So it feels like it minimizes the crap out of it. And things had meaning back then, but when you wake up, it kind of slaps you in the face, doesn't it? Like those little things have way more importance than they used to.
All that practice that we're putting into learning how to feel the feels, to feel our emotions, to experience our emotions, that's the exact same thing that creates those moments where we're almost like overwhelmed by the depth of this experience of watching our kids experience something of something that we're feeling. It's all of the practice of feeling all of those emotions, the good ones, the bad ones, the hard ones, the happy ones. And then it all kind of culminates in these different experiences and these different moments in our lives that wouldn't have that same depth. Because back when we were drinking, or in my case, even before I was drinking, I didn't have the capacity to feel any of these emotions at all. And so things that I thought were really special when my kids were little, and I didn't really drink when my kids were little, and I thought they were special, they didn't feel the way things feel now. So it's not just sobriety that's given that to me, it's learning how to actually access all of these emotions. And that means like a whole lot of struggling through the hard ones too. But that's what makes life feel so powerful and meaningful and deep now.
Yeah, and being able to like you have to experience the bad ones. It's like it's practice for being able to handle the good ones. Like
For
being
sure.
ready, when the really awesome moments come and you're like, okay, like I can hold on to this too. That practice comes from holding space from the hard times as well.
We know that when we drink, we rob ourselves of both sides. We rob ourselves of the sadness and stuff like that. And I know we feel that stuff, but we also rob the joy from ourselves. And I feel like that's the one thing you don't get to experience until you quit drinking, because the sadness and the depression and all of the struggle and crap that comes along with it is front and center in your life. So it doesn't feel like joy is a possibility. And all of a sudden, at some point when you remove the alcohol from your life, the joy starts showing up again. And that's one of those things I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose that at all. Those moments of joy and awe and wonder are some of the greatest memories I have in my sobriety. And I don't want to miss that. I have a question for everyone, though. Curveball. We talk about what we add to our life that makes us present. There's the opposite of that, and I think sometimes we have to remove things from our life that will make us present. Most of the time, I know for me, I had way too much, and it got in the way. And then so I had to remove things from my life to allow me to be present. Clutter. Things. I started putting things away and not creating a mess when I went about my stuff. I had way too many clothes. And it was not easy to get rid of them, but I got rid of a bunch of clothes. I got down to almost being able to fit all of my belongings in my truck. And I didn't feel like I had less. I almost felt like I had more. And I think that was because I had value packed in a small spot rather than a lot of small things. A lot of things that really didn't have value in a big spot. My level of care changed big time because I didn't have a lot of things. And I think it gave me a very much an appreciation of the things that I didn't have, and it made me appreciate the things that I did.
I think that's a really good metaphor for, I think, the fact that so many of us walk around in our lives with this massive void, right? And we're trying to dump alcohol in there to fill the void up, but most of us are also filling the void with all kinds of other things that aren't ever actually meeting the need, just filling our lives with more and more and more stuff, relationships and belongings and activities and to-do lists and things like that, trying to fill the void. And I think that's a really good kind of metaphor of the way that we do that and having to strip it down to what really matters instead of just continuing to dump things in to try to fill up this giant black hole that doesn't ever actually fill up.
I don't even think it's just stuff. I think it's relationships and friendships that I held on to that I poured a bunch of work into, that I was the only one pouring work into. And there's a lot that goes into there, but a lot of my emotional distress was caused by myself and the things that I wished others were doing for me, as opposed to what could I do for myself to benefit others. It's a completely different way of looking at things. One I have control over. One I'm just wishing for other people to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Think,
Yeah, it's go ahead, Robbie.
what you were saying there, Steve, with, taking inventory of what's meaningful to you. That's kind of a big thing, right? You gave away all the stuff that you thought it had meaning to you, but you found out it didn't. Then you held on to all that stuff that did have meaning. And it's like that meaning grows by 10 or whatever it may be at that point. So you have a deeper connection with what you do have now. And I know for me, it's like giving up gossip about other people, judgment on other people, getting rid of some of that baggage, because that was a coping mechanism for me too, to numb the pain. I could just go talk shit about some people at work and I was numbing the pain because it was a reflection back of me, right? Or something that I didn't like that I was doing myself. And that's kind of part of that inventory too. So I got rid of that. Then, it's like, who do I really want to be? And you got to go, if I want to be present, I need this. I can't have that. And those were some of the things for me, was to be present. There's still a lot of work to do. Our screens and other things can numb a lot of pain too. It hits a little different. It's like me against that. But I know when I would sit and gossip and judge people, I was talking about other people, and those words hurt. Even if those weren't true words that I was saying, it was just something to fill the void, as Julie was saying. And trying for that connection with someone, whatever it may be, the people-pleasing part, or the need of the feeling to be wanted, or look how cool I am, I can say that person's an asshole or whatever. That's been I just really think back about how I used to be, and getting rid of a lot of that stuff and putting my foot down, like, to be present. And that has transferred into my daughter's life too, where, a lot of times she's a teenager, so she'll gossip about other girls, and I'm like, I really don't care. She's like, what do you mean you don't care? I'm like, I don't care. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about us,
Yeah.
So that's something that some of the things that I really noticed, that I had to, baggage I had to get rid of to be more present.
This thought that came in my head was like, gossip, it's like a barrier to connection, really. It's you're barricading yourself from potential connection. I mean, we judge other people. It's usually some sort of a reflection on either, a way we've been in our past, or behaviors we've had in our past, or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, just allowing people to fully show up as themselves and not judging them for it. I'm friends with people today that you just don't know who could come into your life, and who could add value to your life, and you could miss out on all of that just because you judged something, and then you get to know them, and you're like, oh, okay, like, I understand this behavior, and then you get to make the decision as to whether or not that's something that you want in your life, which is, what I was going to say, as far as like letting go is really like my theme in sobriety. I'm learning to let go of so much that I've held on to, um, that I identify with, and learning. It's hard. It's not easy. It's hard to learn that the people in your life, like, you don't need to hold on to people based on the length of time that they've been in your life. Um, sobriety allows you to just take a step back and allow people to be themselves, and there's no judgment. I'm not judging you as a person, but I now get to just say, okay, it's not for me, right? If I met this person, and I said that on the reverse too with friends. You have to give them that option, where it's like, hey, if you met me as I am today, if you met me like this 20 years ago, would you have would you have engaged with me as a friend? Would you have wanted me in your life as a friend, right? And so if you can't meet me where I'm at now, or if you don't think I'm fun anymore, or if you just don't enjoy being around me anymore, you get to make that decision too. You get to make that decision. We get to make that decision together, and some of those were harder than others, but it really came down to just learning how to allow people to show up as themselves, and making the hard choice as to whether or not this person adds value, or on the flip side, if this person is really causing me harm, right? Mentally and emotionally. And that was hard, but I've done some hard things. I've let go of a lot of things. I mean, even material things. I for sure. have a lot of material things. I remember
You and
moving.
I have both packed up and moved across the country. So, like,
Right.
you,
And
you
we're two different people. When
yeah.
I got here, this place, Steve was in that zone. He was in the I'm happy with what I have.
Did you see what was in this place when you moved in?
And then he like leaves for a weekend and my truck arrives from the East Coast and he comes home and is like, wow, it is a full house of furniture and stuff. And of course, I'm like, yeah, but we have this thing for that, and we have this thing for that. And now I'm like, I go like I work in retail, and so we had like this serving platter that was on sale, and it would have cost me like $3 or something like that. And I set it aside and I think about it throughout the day now. I try not to make the impulsive decisions, right? And at the end of the day, I was like, no, like maybe someday if I'm entertaining a lot, but it's like right now it's like I'm perfectly fine serving the chicken I just baked on a sheet pan with tinfoil on it.
Yeah,
I,
exactly.
I don't need a lot of the things I thought I needed. And that was really just because I wanted to feel cool and I wanted to feel like I had this space. And the more I learn about energy, the more I learn that I could literally have a house with, I could be in a room with four walls and absolutely nothing. And the people that walk into that space are going to feel welcome and invited simply because of the person I am and not the stuff that I have. So that's kind of, it's not easy to let relationships go. And especially when they're people you've known for a really long time or their family, but it does get to a point where you realize you made the right decision. You get to that moment where you're like, okay.
Right. My void filler was a little bit of the stuff that you're talking about, Amber, like the home decor and decorating for every holiday to the point where it was ridiculous. But I think, and that was all part of it. My big void filler for so many years was just the overachieving. How much can I accomplish? Take pictures of it, post it on Facebook, and make myself look cool so people think I have value. That was literally how I filled all of my time. And this big, huge void in my life was like achieve more, accomplish more, do more, make it look more perfect. And all it did was make me feel empty. But it was letting go of all of those little things and letting myself be okay with this is good enough. And I'm fine just how I am. Like you're talking about, Amber. The people that matter when they show up at my house, they're not going to care what my house looks like. They're not going to care, they're going to be more impressed with my character than how many jars of jam I canned last week or whatever it is, right? Like, and that probably sounds silly to the guys, but like, I feel like Amber probably knows what's up there. It's just
I would be impressed by
how many jars of jam.
I would be impressed by the amount of jars of jam.
I want some jam.
I think. See, Robbie's like, yeah, no, you can keep jamming.
Yeah, keep jamming.
Maybe not this circle.
Maybe not this example. Maybe not this example.
Bad example.
I mean, if you're going to post it on social media and be like, I just jammed all of this jam, then
you guys also aren't going to think that I'm worth less if I don't do it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that was my big thing for filling space. That was one of the things I had to let go of was performative stuff to try to prove how worthy I was. Matt, what do you have that you've gotten rid of or cut out?
So it's interesting we're talking about this. It's like I feel like I'm at the point where I kind of have to take a look at things and see what needs to be removed. And that's just kind of where I am at with life right now. And it's interesting we're talking about this because I've been thinking about it for a while. Like I feel like I'm like at a standstill with certain things. And I don't necessarily think it's adding, it's subtraction, right? But I don't know what that looks like yet for me or what that's going to be. But like we talk about being present, and there's a lot of stuff I have that distracts that doesn't do anything for me. And it's going to be, I guess, there's more than one thing. So it's going to be a decision of, I guess, which way to go. And is it more than one thing, I guess, that actually is what I do to, I guess, move forward with it.
Sounds like you have a decision to make.
Always decisions.
always decisions.
And
And
it's
then so
never
we
like
can-
cut and dry and easy,
No.
right?
No. No. Oh,
The
Yeah.
good thing is if you remove something, there's a good chance. I mean, in relationships, maybe not, depending on how bad we leave them or what kind of shape they are. But I mean, a lot of those times, if you realize that that was a mistake, you can get some of it back or all of it, depending on what it is. But those decisions are hard. I think those decisions are the decisions that keep people stuck.
Mm-hmm.
That they take us out of the present and they wrap us up in other things. I'm just going to wrap this up now. They wrap us up in other things. We talked about what keeps us present and what doesn't keep us present in some of these things. Adventure, witnessing others, connection. I think Robbie touched on this one off the bat. Learning to be authentic and let the guard down and stop with the perfectionism and the performatism like Julie was talking about, and learning to put all of the stuff. There's the emotional, communicational stuff that we put in the way to protect ourselves, and then there's the things that we have to protect ourselves, and the stuff we put our energy into that removes us from being present with others or sometimes just ourselves. And there's value in that too. Focusing on the little things. We've said that on podcasts a lot, I think. Robbie touched on another really good thing, was gossip. If we can learn to put gossip away and stop talking about other people so we can avoid talking about ourselves. Huh? Anyone out there? I know I still do it. I'm still guilty every once in a while. But that's normally me just avoiding talking about the thing I have a problem with. So, it's a personal problem for all of us. Anyways, I want to say thank you, Matt, and thank you, Amber, and thank you, Robbie, for taking the time and getting season 4 underway. I can't believe we're at season 4, Julie.
So cool.
This is 100 and whatever it is episodes.
Yeah, 150
And
something.
Trying to get our feet wet again, back in the groove. It always feels like the first episodes get clunky.
Yeah.
Because we're not in the groove, but it's great that we have our friends here because they don't make it feel clunky. So it's great to have you guys here.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Always. Thank you.